YouTubers, happy Monday. Mike Martin's here, Mike Martin's channel. Just want to throw this out there for you guys. Scary article up on my computer at home. I was taking a look at it before I took off. Alberta is looking good to Chinese investors. Calgary and Edmonton, they're calling it a deal. Housing is so affordable there. They're looking to buy up those two cities now. So, if you're just joining me on my channel and what's going on, I want you guys to know I'm not picking on the Chinese. I'm just calling a spade a spade. I'm just telling you guys what's going on. If it was the Portuguese, if it was the Germans, if it was the Japanese, I would say it straight out. And the article is from a reputable source in Canada. It's not like a secondary market. It's one of the real fake news. One of the real fake news news sources. So, anyways, what do I want to talk about? We're going to lose Alberta, guys, to foreign investors. And that's what's happening, guys. Oh, no, Chinese investors. The article specifically says Chinese investors. Why? They're calling it a deal, affordable, great cheap homes. You could buy multiple listings for cheap. They were bragging about how they could buy 2-3 units for under $1 million, 3-4 units for under $1 million. And we bought out. We sold out. Our politicians sold out. The whole liberalism of acceptance and buying out our country, we've sold out, and accepting this, we sold out. I got my eye on the door. A lot of people I know from Europe are like, yeah. But you know what? It hurts. It hurts. So what's going on, people? After the Olympics, the price of housing in Vancouver started to skyrocket in 2010. It got so bad that so many people were living the Vancouver lower mainland. So people spread out into the interior. Finally, the city of Vancouver implements a foreign buyer's tax and a vacant home tax. So investors head east to Toronto, and half the investors head east to Toronto, and the other half head south to Seattle and Oregon. And then it got so bad in Toronto where prices spiked and exploded in a mere year and a half, almost 2 years. Prices went haywire there. Then they implement a foreign buyer's tax and stress test and all this other stuff. But the stress test was to hurt the Canadians. The Canadian proper. That's what the stress test was for. But then what? Then what happens? Then what happens, people? Now, Montreal, Quebec, bidding wars. I covered it on last Wednesday's. Trends in the housing market, bidding wars. Foreign investors popping up and chopping up and eating up and gobbling up homes in Quebec. Okay, now, new article, Alberta. So, affordability levels in Canada for 2020 will be right out the window. Price of housing is gonna go through the roof. Interest rates are gonna go up, though. But a lot of the investors that are coming in don't really care. A lot of them are leaving China in droves, and Canada wants more Chinese. Remember the article? Canada wants more Chinese, 500,000 per year. Hi, can I get a large coffee with 1 milk?
Large 1 milk and a juice?
That's it?
Sure, it's 2 temples.
Okay, so that's that. Okay, I wanted to throw that out there. So everyone's saying, Mike, stop picking on the I'm not picking on the Chinese. My 2 ex-girlfriends were Chinese. It has nothing to do with culture. I don't care. But it's what's happening with the whole of them, with a whole bunch of them caught laundering money in Vancouver and BC casinos. Laundering hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars through the casinos there. You know, if I was to walk into a casino with a cash of like a bag of money, man, they'd throw me up against the wall, punch me out and stuff, and then call the police on me. But because it's, you know. Hi, good morning. Thank you. Have a good day. Bye. Okay, so what's happening here? It's a good question, what's happening here. Canada wants more Chinese, from the 2016 article. Everyone runs to StatsCan Canada to see the #1 immigration. They say it's Filipino. They deported most of them. Most of them were temporary status. Most Filipinos have a hard time staying here in Canada permanently. They're not really welcome here. Same thing with the Portuguese. They deported tens of thousands of them in 2007 and 2008 from Ontario. Tens of thousands, hardworking Portuguese with families. They own their homes free and clear. So why is this happening? One, the amount of pressure that's being put on the Chinese by their government. Their government has officially, wow, I gotta open the window, the fumes from that car. The amount of pressure that's being put on the Chinese is just absolutely phenomenal. With them not being able to get money out of the country, with them not being able to get things done right, I think housing will go down in price substantially, but it still will remain expensive because the middle class is just suffering right now. Housing for the Canadian middle class, average median income family of $80,000 a year can't spend more than $350,000 on the house. So you really don't have much of a choice unless you move into the country like I did. I left the city of Vancouver. Vancouver, I lived at stadium right where the Vancouver Canucks played. Right across the street. And then I moved a little bit uptown onto First and Redview. Over there by the highway in a nice townhome complex for the last 2 years. Living in the Lower Mainland. Then I said, you know what? I'm moving to Merritt. Yeah, the town has its flaws, but just like any other town, at least in Merritt, you know, everybody knows you, which is a good thing. Whether they like you or not isn't the answer. It's the fact that they know you, or they know of you, and they know your kids, and that's a good thing. I like that. I'm at that part of my life where I'm 40, and I feel that it's okay. It's like, I like this, you know what I'm saying? So what is happening, guys? You know, a lot of people saying, stop picking on the Chinese and this and that. I'm not. Don't you understand? I am not picking on the Chinese. I just want to know what the heck is happening. And if it's all Chinese that are buying up our properties, foreign investors, then something needs to be addressed. Because if Canada's bringing in $500,000 a year, look up the article. 500,000 Chinese. Canada wants more Chinese. Everyone runs to StatsCan and says, oh, look, no, what are you talking about? It's all Filipinos. No, they're being deported left, right, and center. My wife had 6 or 7 friends that were deported. They were sent back. They were on temporary visas, and they wouldn't renew their temporary work visas. A lot of them worked for Tim Hortons and places like that. And they were all sent back, all of them. Most of them were sent back. Right? So think about it, you know? Think about it long and hard. What's going on? Why are we selling out? Why is Canada openly, with open arms, competing for rich investors? It's not going to help the middle class at all. The middle class is just going to, okay, you know what's going to happen? The actual professional jobs, not like Canada Post. You see, Canada Post, they're a government job, right? But they just can't move to the States because they're a postman. Oh, I'm going to move to the U.S. because it's better there. I'm a mailman. Well, yeah, but that's not going to guarantee you citizenship in the U.S. Nobody cares. But when it's a doctor, when we start losing our doctors, we're going to be in a lot of hot water. Once the doctors start leaving, we're going to be in a lot of hot water. And nurses, because they're all going to Florida, they're all going to Alabama, they're all going to South Carolina, a lot of them are going to Georgia, because they can still buy a house for under $200,000, a 4-bedroom, 3-bath with a pool for under $200,000 and still under mid-200s, and get paid more because they get taxed less. But this is the problem here. Why are we selling out to the Chinese? That's the question. And nobody wants to ask this question. Why is everyone so scared to ask what's going on? Why is everyone, I'm just driving by the store to make sure it's okay. Why is everyone in such fear to ask what is really going on? You like, was everybody else prepped for this and I missed the seminar? Because no one's looking at it at the other side. Because I'm very sure if I went to countries like China, Mexico, there's a lot of countries you just can't go to and live. You can't immigrate there. I tried to buy a house in Mexico twice. And everyone that keeps telling me, yeah, you could buy a lot of expats, Americans living in Mexico, and they own their own houses. No, they don't. They think they own their own houses. I had a guy in the comment section in one of my videos that told me, Mike, you are 100% right. Foreigners cannot buy in Mexico. 100%. He's from the state of Guerrero, and he knows what I'm talking about. He says 100%. He says 100%. You're right. I go, what about all those people that say that they own it? They don't really own anything. They're massaged into believing they own, but the government can come in and take whatever they want when they want from foreign people. So now here's the deal. I called my lawyer in Mexico, in Cuernavaca, Morelos. I called him and I asked him the same thing too. Could people buy? I tried to buy there 3 times, or twice I tried to buy. I went to see properties. And both times they told me they couldn't sell to me because I was a foreigner. I can marry a Mexican and buy, but it stays in her name. And if something happens, I don't have title to the house. I got to sign some weird paperwork. So all these people that claim they own in Mexico, okay, you own. Okay, you own. In quotations to make you feel safe. But you don't really own it. Because where I stayed in Mexico, you know where I stayed? There wasn't a single person that spoke English within 500-kilometer radius. It was all Spanish. And they knew the law straight up. They know what's going on. They're not... Those areas I was living in weren't tourist traps. I spent 2 years in Mexico. I wasn't living in a tourist trap. I was actually living... They don't even know what... in the areas I was in, they have no idea what do you call those... shareholders. What do you call it? Shareholders or freeholders or timeshare crap. They don't even know what that is in the parts of Mexico I was in because there was no tourists in the areas I was in. And when I inquired to buy, they're like, you can't buy here, man. I called my lawyer. I called him 3 months ago when it was still summertime. I asked him, can I buy a house there? He's like, you can't. I go, what? He says, you could buy a townhouse and those things, but you never really own the property, Mike. He goes, I know you, Mike. I know you. You want to own your property. I know I don't want you to be screwed. And I don't want your family to be screwed. And I don't want you to hate me. And I'm like, okay. So there's a lot of countries you can't go to and buy. You just can't go in there and invest. Because they're worried of a bunch of Canadians leaving here and going down to Mexico and buying out homes for $30,000, $40,000, 3-4 bedrooms in decent areas. You could raise a family, and I'm not being sorry. I'm being straight up. The infrastructure, the highway system. We have a buddy down in Acapulco, in the state of Guerrero, a good friend of ours on our channel that calls into our show. I'm gonna call him. I'm gonna call him this Saturday on Mike in the Night. He's down in Acapulco, and he's already called us 2 times. How he left Sydney and he's now living in Acapulco, Mexico, in Mexico. So, kind of wanted to throw this out there. I just want to know what you guys think. Everyone's complaining I'm picking on the Chinese when I'm not. I love everybody. And when I say Canadian proper, it's people from all over the world that came to Canada, like my parents, probably your parents, and Australian proper, people that came, UK proper, American proper, are people that came to the country to build it, to make it a better country, to invest in the infrastructure. I couldn't care less the color of your skin. I couldn't care less of your language. I embrace foreign languages. You know, I couldn't care less of your creed. I couldn't care less. All I care about is that you contribute and you help make the country better than what it was. And that's it. Let me know what you guys think. I'll leave a link below to the articles of what's happening in Calgary. And I'll leave a link below of Canada Wants More Chinese. And I'll leave the Douglas Todd article too, guys. because this is very serious, and I love this country very much. But at the rate it's going, we might not be here much longer. I might not be here. Keep following me on YouTube. We'll see what happens. Thanks for watching.